What if one of the oldest space programs sent many missions to another planet, but then suddenly stopped? Why would they turn away from a world that once held so much promise? Why you should keep watching. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you will understand not just what happened, but why Russia, once active in exploring Venus, didn't continue its missions in later decades. You'll get clear reasons based on science, cost, and changing space priorities. No hype, just facts. In the 1960s and 1970s, the Soviet Union explored Venus more than any other nation. Several missions reached the planet's surface and sent back the first images of another world. But after that, Russian Venus missions faded. Today, we'll look at the reasons behind that shift and what it tells us about space exploration. Venus, a harsh neighbor. Let's start with the planet itself. Venus is often called Earth's sister planet because it is similar in size and gravity, but that's where the similarity ends. Venus has a thick atmosphere made mostly of carbon dioxide. The air pressure at the surface is about 90 times stronger than Earth's, like being 900 meters, almost 3,000 feet, underwater. Temperatures on Venus are extremely hot, often above 450 degrees Celsius, 842 degrees Fahrenheit. That is hot enough to melt lead. The surface is shrouded in thick clouds of sulfuric acid, making it hard to see with normal cameras. Because of these harsh conditions, visiting Venus with spacecraft is much harder than going to Mars or the Moon. Machines must be built to survive extreme heat, pressure, and corrosive air. So even when a space program attempts Venus missions, the technical challenge is high, higher than missions to many other bodies in the solar system. Early Soviet interest and successes. In the 1960s and early 1970s, the Soviet space program focused on Venus. They launched a series of spacecraft called Venera missions. These were among the first attempts by any nation to explore another planet in depth. Here are some of the early achievements. Venera 4, 1967. First probe to enter the atmosphere of another planet and send back data. It measured temperature and pressure inside Venus's atmosphere. Venera 7, 1970. The first spacecraft to land on another planet and send data back. It survived for about 23 minutes on the surface. Venera 9 and 10, 1975. These sent back the first images from the surface of Venus. These successes made the Soviet Union a leader in Venus exploration at the time. Russian engineers learned how to build probes that could enter a harsh atmosphere and transmit information through thick cloud layers back to Earth. Even today, these early missions remain impressive achievements, showing what dedicated work and innovation can accomplish when a nation sets a clear goal. Technical challenges that grew with time. Despite early victories, the technical demands of continued Venus missions grew more difficult with every step. Extreme conditions. We already discussed heat and pressure, but there's more. Venus rotates very slowly. One Venus day is longer than its year, meaning a probe on the surface may be exposed to heat and conditions much longer than expected. This puts stress on electronics and materials. Designing machines that can function more than an hour or two on the surface becomes very expensive. Communication issues. Venus's thick atmosphere and clouds make communication harder. Signals sent from the surface must travel through dense layers and then across space back to Earth. This requires powerful transmitters and large antennas. Expensive technology. To survive Venus, probes need special cooling, insulation, and robust hardware. These features add weight and make the spacecraft more expensive to build and launch. In comparison, missions to Mars or the Moon have more forgiving environments. Mars landers can survive days or weeks on the surface, and the Moon's lack of atmosphere makes landing and sending signals easier. Because of these rising demands, mission design for Venus becomes more complex and costly, with every desired improvement in science and longevity, politics, funding, and space priorities. Science and technology are not the only factors in deciding what space missions get built. In the 1980s and beyond, priorities shifted. 1. Changing national focus. After the early successes, the Soviet Union faced economic limitations. Space exploration requires stable long-term funding and support. In the late 1980s, the country underwent major political changes that shifted funding away from ambitious planetary missions toward more immediate needs. 2. Competition with other missions. During the same period, other parts of the world, especially the United States and later the European Space Agency, ESA, began focusing more on Mars, the Moon, and outer planets like Jupiter and Saturn. Mars especially drew attention because its conditions may have once supported water and possibly life. As interest grew in Mars, more planets competed for attention and funding. 3. Practical returns. Scientists and space agencies tend to evaluate what they might learn relative to cost and difficulty. Venus provides valuable data, but because of its harsh conditions, missions may yield short-lived results. Mars missions, on the other hand, can last months or years on the surface and return a steady stream of data. So planning increasingly favored targets where technology could deliver long-term science at lower cost and risk. Modern Venus missions around the world. Even though Russia has not launched a major Venus mission in recent decades, interest in Venus remains worldwide. 1. NASA. In recent years, NASA announced new planned missions to Venus, Da Vinci Plus and Veritas, designed to study the atmosphere and surface in detail. These missions aim to help scientists understand Venus's climate history and why it became so hot. 2. European Space Agency, ESA has also discussed Venus missions, showing that the global scientific community still values studying this world. 3. Private and international interest in Venus is not limited to national agencies. Universities and research groups around the world continue to study data from past missions and prepare for future opportunities. So while Russia has not returned, Venus is becoming a part of a broader international focus. This means scientists may get fresh data and new perspectives in the coming years. Could Russia return to Venus? The simple answer is it can, but there are practical obstacles. Russia's space agency, Roscosmos, still has talented engineers and historians who remember the early Venera missions. In recent years, Roscosmos has discussed possible future planetary missions, including Venus. But planning and launching such missions takes time and money. It also requires international cooperation and a clear scientific goal. Some ideas include orbiters that could circle Venus for long periods, or balloons that drift in the atmosphere where temperatures are less extreme. These ideas are promising, but they are still in early stages. If world interest in Venus continues growing, Russia may find reasons and partners to return. But at this moment, no confirmed Russian Venus mission is scheduled. If you're finding this space story interesting, go ahead and give a like. I'd love to see what part surprised you most. Drop a comment below if you want a future video about planned Venus missions or Mars explorations. Quick check. Did you know that Venus's days are longer than its years? Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Conclusion. What we covered. Today we looked at why Russia, once active in exploring Venus, did not send new missions after the early achievements. We saw how harsh Venus's environment is, the successes of early Venera missions, why technology and cost became challenges, how changing priorities and funding shifted focus, that the world is planning new Venus missions now, and that Russia could return, but nothing is scheduled yet. Venus remains an important and fascinating world, and its story shows how science, technology, and politics all shape space exploration. Thanks for watching. If you found this video clear and helpful, consider subscribing for more calm, simple explanations of big space topics. Check the next video in the playlist if you want another exploration story broken down step by step. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.